So today we're actually doing something very important to get prepared for academic writing. Is to find the reliable sources for references and for citations. There are like myriads of sources that you can refer to. So I'm just going to let you know what kind of sources are the most reliable and trustworthy for you to choose and use the sources for your academic writing. Okay? Joy, can you read it?
Introduction: why finding reliable sources matters. Preparing to write involves extensive reading. The ability to find, assess, and use appropriate sources is a core academic skill. Reliable sources provide credibility and depth to your work. This season will cover text type, academic resource, assessing text, library tools, electronic resource, and vocabulary building.
Yeah, so as I told you, there are so many resources that you can actually read to write about the topic that you're supposed to write. So I'm just going to let you know the different types of texts and also what are considered academic resources and how you can access and also assess the reliability and credibility of those sources. And we're going to do some library searches as well. So I'm going to give you a topic to have a look, and then we're going to do online search, especially in the library, and then Google Scholar, and I'm going to let you know how to choose the most reliable sources for your topic. All right, types of text and their uses.
Textbooks provide structured overviews, but may be outdated. Websites easily accessible, but reliability vary greatly. Journal articles, peer-reviewed, contain current research, but often complex. Official reports, usually credible and data-driven, may reflect policy and bias. Magazine articles, engaging and accessible, but lack academic rigor.
Yeah, so there are broadly 5 different types of academic resources. And the first type is basically the textbooks. So, we've printed out our textbooks, right? But then a lot of times, if you want to do like updated, most recent research, and textbooks are a bit outdated. Because textbooks are mostly written by the established authors within the field, and they have like years of experiences. And then they actually write down the most general facts within the textbooks. So a lot of information contained in the textbooks, they are actually, we consider it classic, but then a lot of times it doesn't reflect on the current research or most recent research. And also, we have so many different websites these days, so you can actually go into those websites and then, gather some information out of there. But then again, especially with the development of AI, we have so much fake information produced. There's a problem of hallucination in AI, and those websites are actually built without peer review. So you really have to see whether the sources of those websites are credible. And there are like different ways that we can access, but and I'm going to let you know how to do it. The third type is journal article. Basically, journal article is written by a scholar or an expert in the field. And if you want to get published in the journal articles, then you basically have to get peer reviewed. So what do you mean by peer review? Peer review is basically 2 or 3 other scholars or experts in the field get to read the article that you submit, and then they basically have to go through whether to see whether this article is publishable or not, and they decide whether this article will be published in the journal. So because it's going through the editing, the revision, and then also the commenting by the established experts and scholars in the field, is considered most credible because of the peer review process. And also we have official reports produced by governments and like institutions. So reports, action driven a lot of times, and it gives like recommendations for you to look into in terms of like, what I'm supposed to do in this policy or in this study or in this research. So official reports are very credible, but then because they are written and published by governments and institutions, they actually have certain agendas written within the reports. So they might have some political or economic agendas within the reports, so you really have to see what kind of stance that they have. The last one is magazine article. I mean, we have very good established magazines such as like Time magazine, so or Economist. Those magazines are like really established ones. So say if you find an article from the Time magazine or the Economist magazine, I mean it's reliable because in order to get published, you have to go through a lot of review process. But then, like for other popular magazines, the articles there are neither academic nor aids for delivering information or in-depth research. So if you are to read articles from popular magazines, you have to be careful whether the information that you gather from the popular magazine is reliable. That you can actually rely on the information as to produce an essay or to have form your own view. So there are like broadly 5 different types, and there are like more types of academic resources that you can look into, but these are the broad sort of types. So we'll do some exercise today. So let's go into page 25. I think it's the first page, right? So it's written down, the textbook. So it says, the table below lists the most common written sources used by students. Work with a partner and discuss their likely advantages and disadvantages. So complete the table. So this is listing the 5 different types of academic sources, reliable sources here. So you can actually discuss the advantages and disadvantages of each type and write down, okay, the pros and cons. Okay, let's get started. Okay, let's have a look. So what would be the advantages of the website? Joy? What advantages and disadvantages together?
The first advantage is easy to gather information,
Mm-hmm.
and the disadvantage is some information are complex.
Yeah, so complex, and you can't really decide whether it's true or not. So a lot of the information online can be fabricated. A lot of it is actually produced by AI nowadays, so you really have to see whether it's reliable or not. Okay, what are the advantages and disadvantages of the journal article?
Advantage of journal article is broad mental clarity.
All right, that's good. Yeah, so it's the most clear, yeah.
And disadvantage of a journal article is complex for finding particular items.
Right, because a lot of it is written with a jargon, academic jargon, so it's actually quite difficult to understand, especially for like college freshmen, like college students. I think is quite difficult unless you read a lot, within the field. So academic journals are mostly, it's the most difficult sort of level. All right, what about the official reports, Joy?
Performance assessment,
Yeah.
regulatory compliance,
Yeah.
addressing challenges.
All right, so advantages are, can be various. I mean, it's action oriented, so it actually gives you a lot of recommendations in terms of actions, but the disadvantages might have agendas behind. Okay.
The disadvantages are limited insight into quality aspects.
Right, so and then also the quality really differs by what kind of institutions or like government institutions or like the NGO is written from, okay? Magazine articles, advantages?
Advantages are it wouldn't be boring for everyone.
Boring? Magazine articles, I think, because it's written for the popular audience, so it tends to be the easiest one.
It wouldn't be
Wouldn't be, alright. Alright, what about disadvantages?
Disadvantages are lack of academic variety.
Alright, yeah, so it's because it's geared for popular audience, so a lot of times it's not suitable for academic audience. Okay, well done. Alright, so let's have a look at the academic journals and like peer review process first. I mean, we're not going to go into the details of the peer review process, but it's actually good for you to know, what are the academic journals. Okay, whose turn is it? It's your turn? Yeah. Joy?
Academic journals and peer review. Thousands of journals exist across disciplines, serve as forums for sharing cutting-edge research. Peer review process ensure quality through expert evaluation. Students should know the key journals in their field, accessibility through the library.
Right, so I mean, there are like thousands of journals exist, and those of the top quality journals are actually indexed, like SSCI in social sciences field, or ANHCI in like humanities field, SCI for science, so if the journals are indexed, then it means actually, they're quality journals, so you can actually rely on those journals if they're indexed in those like SSCI, SCI, or like Scopus. So there are some indicators which signify whether this particular journal is reliable or not. But because the journal articles go through the peer process, it tends to be the most based on the cutting edge research. So a lot of the results and data you can actually access from the journal articles are the most recent one. So it actually reflects the current research trends, current trends and discourses and discussions within the field. So it's it's actually nice if you can read it and understand the journal articles properly, And also, it's good for you to know about the key journals in your field. So if you're studying, what would you like to study? What would you like to major?
Yeah, of course.
What would you like to study, like in college or like afterwards? What are you planning to major?
I'm planning to go back to my own country, and I want to preparing students for international studies, subjects like this one or another subject. It's really interesting.
So you want to major in international relations, political study?
Yeah.
What about you, Joy?
I'm studying for hotel management basically, but for international studies, the hotel management will help me understand the other nations' information.
All right, okay. So it's for general knowledge, but what would you like? Would you like to study economics, finance, or like politics? Finance.
Yeah.
All right. So Joy is interested in finance. Ting is interested in political studies, especially international relations. And there are actually key journals within the specific field. So the more you read, you actually come across and you understand what are the key journals are. Okay. So it's from the beginning, I think it's difficult to pinpoint which are the most influential journals, but if they have a top rating, so normally they have a impact factor, what's called impact factor. And if the impact factor is higher, then it means it's more influential. So you can actually assess the journals according to the impact factor, or whether the journals are indexed or not. But as a general thumb of rule, the more you read in the field, you actually come across the journal names more often, and that way you will actually know, okay, these are the journals that I'm supposed to read. But you're just beginning, so you will actually learn as you read more. Okay. All right. So there are different levels of academic resources. We've gone over 5 different types, but it actually gives you the layer of sources that you can look into. Whose turn is it to read?
Primary sources, journals, conference reports, photos, and oral testimony provide latest ideas, but may be controversial.
Right.
Secondary sources, textbooks, academic books, more accessible and often reliable. Tertiary sources. Tertiary sources, dictionaries, encyclopedias,
encyclopedias.
Encyclopedias and thoroughly edited and useful for clarification.
Right, so primary resources are sources that you can get the latest information and latest research on the field. So we've talked about the journal articles, and what do you mean by thesis? Dissertations. So if you're studying for master's, or a PhD, students get to write thesis on a given topic, So PhD theses actually are considered very reliable, especially if those dissertation or thesis are written within the established institutions, So say you come across a PhD thesis on international finance from Jeonbuk National University. And because it's actually supervised by an established scholar in the field, and the name of the institution, academic institution, is reliable. So that's why the PhD thesis produced or published by Jeonbuk National University students is considered reliable. But then, actually, the more recent the thesis is, it actually includes a lot of advanced sort of recent information and research. So that's why you can actually, by reading the recent thesis, you can get the latest information as well. And conference reports, a lot of PhD students, a lot of scholars, a lot of professors, they have academic conferences held every year, And those conferences produce their own papers. And a lot of times you actually come across, conference paper. And then, it's the fourth proceedings of the annual education review, So you actually come across shorter sort of papers published by the conference proceedings. And those conference papers actually include more advanced, not more advanced, but more latest research results than the journal articles. Because actually, before the scholars got to publish their research results in the journal articles, they actually share the results in the conferences, and that they try to get the feedback from other scholars. So that's why conference reports, actually include more advanced and sort of latest research results. And photos and oral testimonies, it's a direct account of a given phenomenon, so that's why it's called primary sources. As I emphasized, primary resources, you can get the latest information, but because it's not proven yet, because it's not proven by a long period of time, a lot of times the results or the information that you can get from the primary sources can be controversial. And secondary sources, are like textbook or academic books. If you were to write academic books or textbooks, like the one that we're studying here, then you really have to have extensive period of experiences and research experiences or teaching experiences. And a lot of times, publishers prefer to publish textbooks or academic books. When the information or the facts included within the textbooks or academic books are proven by many people, right? So that's why it's more reliable than the journal articles or reports or the conference papers, but outdated because it tends to include a lot more information. And the tertiary sources are basically dictionaries, encyclopedias. Those are, if you were to think about dictionaries, you basically find out the meaning of the words or phrases, or encyclopedia, it actually just gives out the general information about certain facts and certain events, so this is the most generic type of academic sources that you can refer to. So is it clear that the layer of differences, the primary sources contain the latest research or the results or data. Secondary sources, it contains more sort of classic, time-proven information. Tertiary sources is basically very generic. It's giving you information about certain events, definitions, definitions of the words, and so tertiary information, the most generic, but it's very useful for clarifying certain concepts or verifying certain facts. All right, so how can we assess different types of texts, and how can we assess, evaluate what's written, the contents of the texts. All right, whose turn is it?
Future of academic writing.
Mhm.
Assess relevance, reliability, currency, author credibility.
Right.
Academic texts often feature formal, semi-formal vocabulary, citation, objective style. Example, extract air general information, no citation versus extract a precise data reference.
Right, so when you evaluate whether this text is reliable or not, you basically have to see whether this text that I'm looking at is relevant to the topic that I'm studying about. And also reliability basically means can I trust this text or not? So I told you that if it's published by an established journal articles, or if it's the textbook, or if it's a published sort of book in paper, that it means it's actually quite reliable. But online sources, you have to be very careful because a lot of the cases is not reliable, so you really have to verify, okay? And currency means if you have two books, and one of the two books is published in 2020, and the other book is published in 2007, what would you actually select as your text? 2020 publication and 2007 publication, what would you choose? You can choose 2020 or 2007. Joy, what would you choose?
For me, I'll choose the 2020 if it's in recent terms.
Hmm?
But if you talk about the old times, like the ancient time, then I would choose the 2007.
Oh, great. All right, so it's up to the topic, right?
Yeah.
But rule of thumb is actually the more recent publication is better. Yeah, as for academic writing, you know. So if you were to cite the more recent publication, actually people think it's better. So when I wrote journal articles, I have to go through a peer review process, and a lot of the comments that I get is, oh, I have to include more recent publication in my citations, okay? And author credibility, very important. So if you are to see whether the text or the information that you're looking at is reliable, you first have to go to the background of the author. All right, so you have to go to the description of the author description page, you know, and then you have to see what kind of background the author has. That actually proves whether this text that I'm looking at is reliable or not. Even the online sources, if the website is written by a professor at UPenn, then it's actually a lot more reliable than a blog post written by anonymous individual, right? So that's how you assess the reliability, the trustworthiness of the text. All right, so if you were to see whether this text is academic or not, then see whether it uses former vocab. I mean, that's why we have to memorize all these verbs. I mean, verbs and like adverbs and like nouns. I told you to memorize the academic words, right? So we're going to have a test on this. You really have to see whether the vocabs that this text is using is academic or not, right? And for that, you have to know the academic vocabs, right? So that's why I want you to memorize, those academic words. And also, if it has a citation of a reliable source, that it means it's an academic source. And a lot of times, the tone of the text, academic text, is very objective. So I told you it's not very wise to use too emotional language in an academic writing. So if the writing includes a lot of emotional language or expressions, it's considered not very academic, all right? So if the tone of the voice is objective and it tries to maintain, objective point of view, then it actually is considered very academic. All right, so let's do some exercises. Let's turn to page 27. Let's go to page 27. Where's my text from? All right, it's here. 27. Okay. Can you have a look? All right, so we have extract A, a drying world, extract B, measuring scarcity. So there is a question here. You are studying water management. Read the following extracts A and B, then discuss with the other students if they are suitable for academic use and why. Okay? So you read extract A and B and decide which is more reliable source. Okay? And then you can actually fill in the blanks, the tables in the next page. Okay? So do extract A and B suitable, yes or no, and then if you think it's yes, then write down the reason. If you don't think it's reliable, then write down the reason, okay? And also, if you, if you think A or B is more academic, then you actually find the vocabs and sources cited and tone of voice, objective style, within the excerpt, and then write them down. Okay, let's do this exercise. Which one is better? One has a citation, the other one doesn't have. The one which has a citation is better, more suitable academically. When you make a citation, it's like this. Have a look at me. The surname, my surname, 2020, argued, like this one. Which one is this? So this is the surname of the author, and then this is the year of publication. In the parentheses. Only one has it. Did you find it?
I think that extract A.
Yeah.
Like so use workers.
Yeah. Right. But this one doesn't have any citation. Right? So always, academic writing should have the citation. Because that's why you have to read a lot of text together. Okay? Let's go over the text together. Alright, so if you look at A and B together, so extract B is actually better in terms of academic writing because it has a citation, whereas extract A doesn't really have anything, it just gives you the information without no source, where the information is coming from. So that's why extract B is better. And also, extract A has a bit of problem, right? So I told you that academic writing should have a very emotionless, very objective tone of voice. But if you were to read the second sentence of extract A, what does it say? However, fresh water, the stuff we drink, bathe in, irrigate our farm fields with, is extremely rare. The stuff in academic writing, you don't use this kind of word. It's not an academic word, okay? So maybe you can replace the stuff with a resource, So there are like types of academic words that you have to use in academic writing. So when I first came across the word stuff, I immediately recognized that this is not a good academic source, okay? So that's why you really have to know the words. That's why I keep telling you that you have to memorize those words. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to recognize it, right? So extract B has a quote, which is by Zuberman, 2006 reviews, right? And actually, if you were to compare extract A and B, which one has longer sentences?
Except B.
Yes. So academic writing tends to have longer sentences, right? So I would recommend you to write longer sentences, but as long as you can do the right grammar correct. If you can't write the long sentences without grammar mistakes, then I don't recommend. Okay. So as long as you can actually write longer sentences without grammar mistakes, then academically, academic writing actually has a lot of long sentences. I prefer like not too long, but I remember I read Immanuel Kant writing in my college years for my philosophy class, and his writing had one sentence which was more than one page long. So I don't, recommend you to write the long sentence, but usually, academic writing tends to include more longer sentences. So that's why extract B is better, more suitable, for academic sources. Okay, so this is the way that you can actually assess the different sources of texts. All right, let's do the reading list. Whose turn is it?
Reading list may be printed or electronic. Include books, journals, articles, and websites. Electronic lists often link directly to library catalogs. Prioritization is a key. Not all items must be read in full. Examples: book station, Mid Press, 2016. Journal article citation, auditors, year, journal issue, pages.
Right. So if usually, I don't know if it's the case here, but when I was studying in Oxford, they actually gave us a lot of reading lists for different subjects. So the reading list includes key texts that I'm supposed to read if I were to study, say, international relations, like the fundamentals of international relations, international finance. And they actually give you the reading list and they include like 100 texts that I'm supposed to read if I were to finish. All right, but I don't think it does the same here. So let's have a look at the page 28, using reading list. It has the examples of books, journal articles, and websites, right? So let's read books. Can you read books? Yeah, okay, I'll just read it. So book says Griffin's RC. Okay, I'm just gonna give you an idea how you can cite it, okay? So if you were to cite books, then you start with the surname. So Griffin's here is the surname of the author. And R.C. that's the abbreviation of the first name. So for me, because my name is Sun Kim, my surname is Kim, right? Kim, comma, S dot. So this is the abbreviation of my first name, right? And then you write, different, you can actually have a different styles, but I think it just gives you an idea. So afterwards, you can write down the title, right? Title of the book in italics. So I wrote a book entitled The Difference of Education. But you have to indent it, you have to make it into italics, right? So this is the title. And then afterwards, you have to have which edition it is. So my book was published twice. I had a second edition. So in this case, I can say second edition. All right. And then afterwards, you write down the name of the publisher. Okay. So for me, here is the MIT Press. So maybe for my publisher, it was named Haewadong, but it's a Korean name, so you can just say Haewadong. So this is the name of my publisher, and then you write down the year of publication at the end. So this is one style. You can actually write down in a different style, right? Because this is 2019. So by reading here, you can immediately recognize, okay, this is the name of the author, all right? And if something is in italics, then you say, oh, okay, this is the title of the publication, title of the book. And then if it has year, then it means, oh, this is the year of the publication. So you can recognize it that way, all right? The journal is a bit more complicated, okay? So journals, a lot of times journal articles have several authors because in order to publish in a journal, people actually collaborate a lot of times. So in this case, how many authors does it have? The journal articles, can you have a look? And how many authors do you think it has? Lund. Yes, and? Right, so it has 3 authors. So 3 surnames, okay? And then they abbreviated the first names. And when was it published?
1980.
Right, very good. For journal articles, you don't actually indent the journal title. You just say macro scale water scarcity requires micro scale approaches. So this is the title of the journal article, right? And then if you find italics, then it means it's the title of the journal itself, right? So there's a difference between the title of the article and title of the journal. And title of the journal is basically italic, is written in italics. So it's published in Natural Resources Forum. This is title of the journal. And then afterwards, you have this weird numbers coming up. Journals has a lot of different volumes and issues. So volumes is like the number the journal is published within a specific year, right? So it says 13. So this journal named Natural Resources Forum published its 13th volume in 1989. Okay, so that's how you recognize it. And then the numbers with a hyphen in the middle, it indicates page numbers. All right, so it's from 258 to 267. Normally, journal articles like 20, 30 pages long. So if you were to spot, these numbers with the hyphen in the middle, then you just recognize, okay, these are the numbers of the journal. Okay. All right, and then the last website is easy, right? It starts with HHP. The major publications, basically book and journal. Journal is the most difficult to recognize, but as long as you know how to read, okay, that's what matters. Okie dokie, let's move on. Okay, so this is how we can do search in the library. This is the most common type in which you actually get the information for your writing, especially academic writing, okay? Okay, whose turn is it? Is it Chinggis?
Online catalogs allow multiple research strategies, use keywords and synonyms. For example, oil exploration, hydrocarbon exploration.
Right.
Evaluate results by edition, year, location, holdings, full details. Later editions are generally more up-to-date.
Right. So we all have libraries in the universities. So have you ever accessed the JNU library yet? Okay, we're gonna do the exercise today. Okay. So if you're studying in any type of universities, except community colleges, but if you're working in universities, they always have libraries, So if you're given an academic writing task and you have to read, then the first website that you have to go into is the library website. So you go into the website, and basically if you're given a topic, then you just write down the topic, right? Or if you're given a question, then you have to find out which are the keywords in the question that you're supposed to write, okay? So let's have a look at the example of the... All right, let's go into page 29. Okay, in the middle of it, it says 29, did you find it? All right. You have been given an essay title, right? outline the current state of global exploration for oil and relate this to future levels of production. So this is the title of the essay that you're supposed to write, do the academic writing. And the first thing that you have to do is to identify the keywords. So circle the keywords in this essay prompt. Circle the keywords in the essay title. 29. So, yeah, I just read this outline, no, don't do this. Yeah, just look at the essay title here, outline, blah, 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 where does it end? Yeah, and circle the keywords in the essay question. Right, so the essay title is outline the current state of global exploration for oil and relate this to future levels of production. So 2 lines, circle the keywords there. Don't do this, you just read from here to there. Alright? So here to there to circle the keywords. You just missed a very important word. The most important word. Don't do this. You just do it here. Outline, production. Okay, so here, what would be the most important word?
Current state of global exploration.
For oil. So the most important word is oil, right? And yeah, global exploration of oil, for oil, all right? And then the next keyword would be?
Future levels of production.
Exactly, production, future levels of production. So it's actually oil and future levels of production, all right? So you can identify the keywords. And what you need to do is to actually type in those words within the university catalog. But we're going to do it together, okay? All right, so let's have a break for 5 minutes, and then we will actually do the library cataloging together, okay? Okay, before we do that, I'm going to let you know the further details about how to access the journal articles and then also how to recognize details. Okay, let's have a look. All right, I'm going to let you know the details before we actually do it further. Whose turn is it to read?
Journals are database save time by providing online access. Search by journal title or subject keywords, for example, international business law. Database organize issues by year, volume, abstracts indicate relevance. Google Scholar is another useful tool for abstracts and sometimes full text.
Right, so we're actually looking into the library, and then it has a different categories, right? And within one of the categories, it says electronic journals. It has an extensive list, right? I told you that journal articles are one of the most reliable sources that you actually have to go into the electronic journals, okay, that category. And a lot of times, library they actually bought access to different journal articles, so they actually can access the online database for these journal articles. That's why when we found one journal article that we could actually go in and then we can actually view the PDF. It's because Jeonbuk National University Library has bought the subscription. and it's very expensive. So these libraries, they buy subscriptions for the students and the professors, right? Right. So as we did, we actually tried to find the right sources, by the keyword search, and if you actually type in the right keywords, and it's going to give you the most appropriate sources, right? And then the databases, they actually organize different sources according to the year of publication. And I told you about the volume and issue number. So following the publication year, it has a volume number, like 1 to 16 or like 17. And then afterwards, some of the articles have the issue number as well. And it's followed by, so say the name of the journal is, okay, so if I were to write a paper, a journal article, and the International Business Review, then this is my name, the author name, and afterwards we have publication, year of publication, so say 2020, and followed by the article title. So article title will be the inflation of South Korea. Sometimes, according to a certain style, they might have a inverted comment, but it's up to the different styles, so you can have it or not. And then afterwards, you have the journal title. So I told you that it's written in italics, so International Business Review in italics, comma, and then you have volume number. The volume number is 60, and then you add issue number. So if journal is very popular, it might have like 4 or 5 different issues every year. So say it's the 3rd issue, and then it's followed by page number. So page 1 to 18. So this is how you recognize that this is the journal article. All right. So the database is actually organize different journals according to your keywords by the issues, the number of volumes, and it actually gives you the abstracts, right? So when we click into the title, it actually gives you the title and then following the abstracts. Reading the abstract is very important because it actually gives you the basic information of what the article is about. And we can actually use Google Scholar instead of the library catalogs, but we'll do it later. So what does the abstract say about the article? Okay, whose turn is it?
Extract summarize research to help decide if full reading is worthwhile.
Right.
Components, background, purpose, method, findings, and implications. Example, Hiller 2018 limits the public participation in engineering practice.
All right, this is the name of the journal article that we're going to do in the exercise. But just to recap, just to let you know, abstract is very important because it can save you time to choose the most appropriate articles or the sources for your academic writing. So when you click in the title, it actually gives you abstract. And abstracts, and it has a certain length, to write. So it's usually just one paragraph. So you just read the abstract, and it has these components inside. So first it gives you the background of the research, and then afterwards it gives you the purpose of the research. So usually the sentence starts like this research or this study, this paper aims to analyze this certain phenomena. All right, so that's the purpose of the research or the paper or the study. And then it gives you 1 or 2 sentences describing the methods of the research. So this research employs mixed methods to assess blah, 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 all right? And then it gives you a very brief summary of the findings, the results of the research. And if you were to do the scientific experimentation, you basically have to summarize your whole results in like 1 or 2 sentences. That's the skill, very important skill. And the implication, sometimes you actually include implication or not. So the very basic components of the abstract is the background of the research, purpose or the aim of the research, method, and findings. These are the four very basic components. Because it actually gives you these components, you can actually decide if you were to read this article or not. So very important that you can read the abstract very fast, very quickly, and then decide whether this reading, this article, this book is reliable and this is like what I need for my academic writing. So abstract reading is very, very important, okay? All right, so let's continue doing the library cataloging. You basically have to find 2 more articles, and we're going to see how to read the abstracts together. We'll do some exercises too.